When did your parents' perfect marriage start to crack in front of you? You ever grow up thinking your family was the definition of perfect? Like the kind of people who could be in a toothpaste commercial, bright smiles, matching pajamas, pancakes on Sundays, hugs before school? Yeah, that was us. Or at least, that's what I thought. My name's Rachel. I'm 26 now, but back when I was 16, I genuinely believed my parents, Tom and Denise, had the kind of marriage people envied. They were that couple in our quiet Michigan neighborhood, the ones everyone secretly compared themselves to. My dad, Tom, was the classic all-American dad. Funny, charming, the guy who'd wave to the mailman, grill burgers like it was a competitive sport, and still have energy to dance with mom in the kitchen to old 80s songs. And my mom, Denise, she was the picture of warmth and order. The type of woman who ironed napkins for Thanksgiving dinner and made sure the house smelled like cinnamon, no matter the season. She had this way of making chaos look pretty. Every Sunday morning, Dad flipped pancakes while Mom stood beside him in her robe, sipping coffee. He'd kiss her cheek, she'd smile, and I'd think, God, I want that someday. We weren't rich, we weren't special, but to 16-year-old me, our life felt safe, predictable, whole. It's funny how you can grow up in a movie set without realizing it's just a really convincing set design. Because looking back now, there were cracks long before that summer. I just didn't know how to see them. It started small, moments that didn't fit the script. Like my mom suddenly getting quiet whenever my dad mentioned work trips. Or how her smile got tighter at neighborhood parties when someone complimented him. But when you grow up in a family that values appearance over honesty, you learn to look away from anything that doesn't match the picture. The illusion was everything. My mom loved appearances. She lived for them. She color coordinated our Christmas cards. She practiced smiles in the mirror before family photos, and when my brother Luke and I would bicker, she'd hiss through gritted teeth. Not now, we have guests. Everything's fine was our family motto, and I believed it. Until one night, it was late. I don't remember why I was awake, maybe insomnia, or just teenage boredom, but as I was walking to the kitchen for water, I froze halfway down the stairs. I heard them, my parents, whispering, but not the playful kind. It was sharp, tense. My mom's voice trembled. I know what you're doing, Tom. My dad's reply came quick, hushed but angry. Keep your voice down. Then silence. Heavy silence. I stood there, one hand gripping the railing, my heart pounding like I just discovered a hidden world inside my own house. But after a minute, I did what any kid desperate to keep her world perfect would do. I told myself it was nothing. Every couple fights, right? I went back to bed, put in my earbuds, and forced myself to believe everything was okay. The next morning, everything was normal. Pancakes, laughter, music playing on the radio. Mom even kissed Dad on the cheek like always. But the moment her back was turned, I saw his face, cold, distant, distracted. And something inside me whispered, "You heard what you heard." I ignored it, because acknowledging it meant breaking the illusion. And breaking the illusion meant breaking the family. That was the unspoken rule in our house. Keep up appearances, no matter what's happening underneath. So I smiled for the family photo that week. Big, bright, perfect daughter. Smile. But when I looked at that picture later, I noticed something I hadn't before. My dad wasn't holding my mom's waist like he used to. His hand hovered, just close enough for the camera to think it counted. And Mom, her smile didn't reach her eyes anymore. That was the first time I felt it. The shift, the tiny tremor before the earthquake. Everyone thought my parents had the perfect marriage. Even I did. Until that summer, everything changed. And if I'd known what was coming, I would have paid attention to that silence on the stairs. Because silence, I've learned, is usually where the truth hides first. You know that weird gut feeling you get when something's wrong, but you can't explain it? That's what living in my house started to feel like after that night. The air felt heavier. The laughter shorter. The silence longer. My mom still made dinner every night, but she stopped asking Dad about his day. He used to tell long, funny stories about work. Now he just said, it was fine. Then he'd eat, scroll through his phone, and disappear into the garage. He called it work stuff. But whatever he was doing out there, it sure as hell wasn't fixing the car. One day, I came home from school early. His car was in the driveway. Mom's car wasn't. The garage door was cracked open, and I heard music. Soft, romantic, like old jazz. I peeked in, expecting him to be tinkering with tools. But there was nothing, just him sitting inside his car, smiling at his phone. When I said, "Hey Dad," he jumped so hard he dropped it between the seats. He laughed it off too, casually. "Didn't hear you there, kiddo." I shrugged, but my stomach twisted. Later that night, when Mom asked if he wanted to watch a movie, he said, "Can't, got reports to finish." He went to the garage again. Mom smiled at the TV like nothing was wrong. But her hand was shaking when she picked up her wine glass. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing more little things. Small, stupid, impossible to ignore details. The faint smell of perfume on his jacket. The way he started dressing better for meetings. And the lipstick stain on his travel mug that definitely wasn't Mom's shade. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was being paranoid. But deep down, I knew. One afternoon, I borrowed his phone in the car to play music while he ran inside a gas station. I was scrolling through his playlist when a notification popped up on the screen. Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you. My hand froze. My chest burned. The phone buzzed again. Miss you already. My brain went completely blank. It was like watching a scene in a movie where time slows down and the sound fades away. I locked the phone, put it down, and stared out the window until he came back. He asked, "Everything good, Wretch?" I smiled and said, "Yeah." Because what else could I say? "Hey Dad, I just found out you're cheating on Mom. How's your day going?" That night, I watched him kiss her on the forehead before bed. She smiled, tired, practiced, almost robotic. Then she turned off the light. And for the first time, I noticed how far apart they were lying in bed. It wasn't two people resting. It was two strangers pretending to sleep. A few days later, I found Mom crying in the laundry room. When she saw me, she quickly wiped her eyes and said, "Just allergies?" But there were no flowers, no dust, no reason. And I knew she wasn't crying because she didn't know. She was crying because she did. After that, the house changed again. Smiles felt like obligations. Dinners turned quiet. And every time my dad's phone buzzed, Mom would flinch, just slightly, like her body already knew the message wasn't for her. I started having nightmares about the garage, about walking in and seeing him with someone else. But the worst part wasn't the thought of him cheating. It was realizing my mom was choosing not to see it. One night, I heard her whisper on the phone to someone, probably her sister. I can't prove it, but I know. And that was when I realized the perfect marriage I grew up idolizing wasn't breaking. It had already broken. We were just pretending the pieces were still whole. I kept thinking about that text. Last night was amazing. It played on loop in my mind. I imagined the woman on the other end, how she smiled when his name lit up her screen. How she probably had no idea she was destroying a family. Or worse, maybe she did. And yet, I stayed quiet. Because I was terrified that if I said something, I'd be the one who ruined everything. Funny how you can carry someone else's secret like it's your own crime. That summer, every time Dad left for a late meeting, I'd sit by my window, watching his car pull out of the driveway. And every time I'd feel a little less like his daughter, and a little more like his accomplice. I didn't know it yet, but I was sitting on a truth that would soon burn everything down. And the night it finally came out, it wasn't quiet anymore. It was loud, messy, and it changed everything. You ever have a moment that changes everything? Not slowly, not over time, just snap, and the life you thought you had gets ripped away in one breath? That night, I found mine. It was a Thursday in late July. The air was thick, still, and too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. Mom was upstairs folding laundry. My little brother was asleep. And Dad, he was in the garage again. I told myself to mind my business. I told myself I didn't need to know. But curiosity and dread make a dangerous combination. I went to grab my bike, at least, that's what I told myself. But halfway through the door, I heard his voice. Soft, low, almost tender. "I can't leave her yet," he said quietly. "Rachel's still a kid." Then a pause. "I love you too." My stomach dropped. I couldn't breathe. It was like my heart forgot how to beat. He said it so gently, like it wasn't a betrayal, but some secret fairy tale. I remember standing there, hand frozen on the doorknob, feeling like the whole garage was tilting sideways. I wanted to scream, to run, to break every perfect thing in that house, but I couldn't move. When he hung up, he sighed, like he was carrying a heavy weight, and all I could think was, "You put that weight on all of us." I backed away quietly, went upstairs, and sat on my bed in the dark. For the first time in my life, I didn't recognize my family. The next morning, everything looked the same. Pancakes, sunshine, fake laughter. But I couldn't unhear it. I couldn't unsee the truth sitting across from me at the breakfast table. My dad buttered his toast like nothing had happened. My mom asked, "You okay, honey? You look pale." I wanted to yell, "No, I'm not okay. Dad's in love with someone else." But instead, I smiled and said, "I'm fine." Because that's what we did. We pretended. Days turned into weeks. The lie became part of our furniture, always there, invisible but heavy. Then came the barbecue. Every summer, my parents hosted this big neighborhood cookout. It was our tradition, the kind of event where everyone brings potato salad and fake smiles. That year, though, something felt off from the start. Mom was quiet, too quiet, moving like she was on autopilot. Dad was unusually cheerful, the kind of cheerful that feels like armor. And then she arrived. Janice. I'd heard her name before, coworker, friend, team lead. She was tall, confident, all lipstick and perfume. She laughed too loudly at Dad's jokes, touched his arm too often. And when he looked at her, God, the look in his eyes, it was soft. Not the way a husband looks at his wife. The way a man looks at a secret he can't let go of. I glanced at my mom. She was smiling at the grill, spatula in hand, but her eyes were glassy, locked on them. For a split second, her lip trembled. Then she turned away, smiled wider, and kept flipping burgers like nothing was wrong. That moment broke something in me. Because I realized she knew, she'd known all along. That night, after everyone left and the dishes were stacked high, she sat on the couch, staring at the blank TV screen. I sat beside her, not sure what to say. After a long silence, she finally spoke. Her voice was calm, too calm. Never marry someone who makes you feel crazy for noticing the truth. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. We both knew what she meant. The next morning, Dad left early for work. Mom made coffee in silence, and I sat there realizing our family was just done. The kind of done that doesn't explode, it just rots quietly until you can't stand the smell anymore. That was the summer my childhood ended. Because once you hear the words "I love you too" from your father's mouth, and you know it's not meant for your mother, you can never unhear them. You stop being a daughter. You start being an unwilling witness. And the worst part? You start wondering if the love you grew up believing in was ever real at all. It's strange how quiet a house can get after the truth comes out, even before anyone admits it aloud. The silence between my parents grew louder every day. The kind of silence that doesn't mean peace. It means war is coming. Dad started coming home late. Mom stopped waiting up. Dinner became this awkward, choreographed performance. 3 plates, 3 forced smiles, and 1,000 unspoken words floating in the air like smoke. Then one night, the silence finally shattered. I was in my room doing homework when I heard the crash, glass breaking, then my mother's voice, sharp and trembling. "Who is she, Mark?" My whole body froze. He didn't answer at first, and I could hear his heavy breathing from the hallway. "Don't lie to me," she said again, louder this time. "You think I don't know? You bring her into my house?" I shouldn't have listened, but I did. I pressed my ear to the door. Dad's voice was low, angry. "Keep your voice down. The kids already know," she screamed. "Your daughter saw you, Mark, at the barbecue. You think she didn't notice the way you looked at that woman?" And then silence again. The kind that makes your heart pound in your throat. I heard movement, like someone stepping closer. Then Mom's voice dropped, quieter but shaking. "How long?" Dad said nothing. So she asked again, "How long?" Finally he muttered, "A year. A year." I had to cover my mouth to keep from gasping. She started crying. Not the loud, messy kind of cry, but this broken, hollow sound. It didn't even sound like my mom anymore. He tried to talk. "It's not what you think." She laughed, this bitter, terrifying laugh. "Not what I think. Oh, that's rich, Mark. You think loving someone else while sleeping next to me isn't what I think it is?" Then came the sound of something hitting the wall. A mug, maybe, a picture frame. I heard footsteps. He stormed out of the kitchen and slammed the front door so hard the whole house shook. I ran downstairs. Mom was sitting on the floor, shards of glass around her, clutching a picture of the 3 of us, our last family photo before everything went to hell. She didn't even look up when I said, "Mom." She just whispered, "He's gone." I wanted to tell her it'd be okay. That we didn't need him. That we'd rebuild. But she wasn't hearing me. She just kept staring at that picture, repeating under her breath, "He's gone. He's gone." And then, like some cruel joke, her phone lit up on the counter. A message preview from a name I didn't recognize, Janice. I swear my blood ran cold. Mom saw it too. Her hand trembled as she picked up the phone. She didn't open the message. She just looked at it for a long, long time. Then she placed it down gently, like it was poison, and whispered, "Now I know what kind of man I married." That night, she didn't sleep. Neither did I. The next morning, she was gone. Her clothes were missing. Her car was gone. Just a note on the kitchen counter. "Don't look for me. I need to remember who I was before him." Dad came home later that day, looking like a ghost. When he saw the note, he just sat at the table in silence. No tears, no shouting, just emptiness. And me? I stood in the doorway realizing I was alone. Not literally, but spiritually, emotionally. Because when a family breaks, it doesn't shatter in one clean snap. It crumbles, piece by piece, until there's nothing left but fragments of who you used to be. But what I didn't know then was that this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Because a week later, something arrived in the mail, something that would drag me into the mess even deeper. A small, unmarked envelope. No return address, just my name, written in shaky handwriting. Inside was a photograph. My dad and Janice. At a hotel. The timestamp, 2 days after he begged Mom to come back. And that's when I realized he never stopped lying. Not even when we'd lost everything. I didn't sleep that night. That photograph burned in my hands like it was alive. Proof that the man I once called my hero was still lying, still choosing someone else over the family he broke. I kept thinking about Mom's note, "Don't look for me." But I needed answers. I needed to see her. So the next morning, I did something reckless. I grabbed my car keys and drove. Her sister, Aunt Liz, lived 2 hours away in Traverse City. I didn't even call. I just showed up, heart pounding, half hoping, half terrified she'd actually be there. When Liz opened the door, I could tell she knew why I'd come. She didn't ask questions, just stepped aside and whispered, "She's in the guest room." I found Mom sitting by the window, staring at the lake. Her hair was unbrushed, her eyes swollen, but when she saw me, she tried to smile, the kind of tired smile people give when they've run out of energy to pretend. "Hey, baby," she said softly. I sat down beside her and just handed her the photograph. She didn't even flinch, just stared at it for a few seconds before saying quietly, "I figured as much." That broke me. I expected her to scream, or cry, or crumble, but she didn't. She was just numb. "Why didn't you tell him you knew?" I asked. Her voice cracked. "Because I wanted him to choose me on his own, but he never did." I didn't know what to say. The woman who'd once taught me to fight for what mattered was sitting in front of me, shattered by someone who never deserved her. Then she looked at me, right into my eyes, and said something I'll never forget. "Rachel, don't waste your life cleaning up someone else's mess. Promise me that." I nodded. But in that moment, I wasn't sure if I could. A week later, Dad showed up at our house. He looked rough, unshaven, exhausted, holding flowers like they could erase the past. "Rach, can we talk?" he said. I didn't answer. I just walked to the kitchen table and slid the photograph toward him. He froze. His face went pale. "Where did you get this?" "Does it matter?" I snapped. "You said you wanted to make things right, but you were still seeing her." He tried to speak, but the words came out broken. "It's not what it looks like." I laughed bitterly. "Dad, that's exactly what it looks like." He dropped the flowers onto the counter, white lilies, Mom's favorite, and sat down, head in his hands. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," he said. "I just felt trapped. Your mom and I—" "Don't." I cut him off. "Don't try to make this sound mutual. She didn't cheat. You did. She didn't lie. You did." For the first time in my life, I saw my father cry. But I didn't feel sorry for him. Because while he was crying for himself, Mom had cried for years, for their marriage, for the illusion, for all the nights she stayed silent so I wouldn't see her pain. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You know what's worse than cheating? Lying so long that your daughter grows up thinking love means pretending everything's fine." He didn't answer. And I didn't wait for one. I walked out, and this time I didn't look back. Fast forward a few years. I'm 26 now, living in my own apartment, working in Chicago, building a life that's mine. Mom's doing better, she teaches art classes at a community center, and she laughs again. It's a little rusty, but it's real. Dad remarried a year ago. I didn't go to the wedding. I didn't need to. Sometimes I think about that summer, how one secret cracked our entire world. How a single lie turned our family from picture perfect to strangers. But I've learned something. You can't fix what broke you, but you can stop it from breaking you again. A few months ago, I was dating a guy named Ben. Nice, funny, charming, too charming. Then one day, he lied about something small, something stupid. But I saw the pattern, the denial, the gaslighting, the little phrases that felt too familiar. So I ended it. No drama, no tears, just quiet strength. Because I'd seen what silence turns into. And sometimes, late at night, when I look at old photos, back when we all smiled for the camera, I don't feel angry anymore. Just free. The day my parents' perfect marriage cracked, I thought it was the end of my family. Turns out, it was the beginning of me learning what love shouldn't look like. And that, right there, was the moment I stopped inheriting their silence and started writing my own story.